Okay, for our next session on benefits, drop extension, return to work in the DC 401A, our local board relationship manager, Joann Lowey. Joann is one of the longest serving PSPRS staff members. She is, in terms of benefits and the structure of all of our plans, she is the PSPRS encyclopedia. So pay attention, she really knows what she's talking about. Joann?
Good morning, everyone. Okay, let's get started. There's a lot of good information I hope that you can gain from this presentation. So as far as benefits goes, I'm going to touch on those for both public safety and corp. So public safety tier 1 benefits, that is membership prior to January 1 of 2012. The requirement for normal retirement is 20 years of service or 15 years of service and age 62. So at the point the member reaches 15 years of service, they also have to be 62 years of age in order to apply for that normal retirement. Drop participation, well, that of course just was revised this past year, but basically what you want to keep in mind is if a member wants the 5 years or 60 months, then the member has to have 20 years of credited service, or if the member wants to participate in the 7 years and 84 months, then they do have to meet and have 24 and a half years of credited service on the books and be at least age 51 at the time that they choose to participate. Now this is for members going forward. I'll talk about the other members that are part of that drop extension further on in the presentation. The calculation for the tier 1 is a highest 3 consecutive years, and it's good to remember that there is a difference between service and credited service. So a member can meet that 20 years of service, but if there's any leave without pay, that will reduce the calculation below 20. So it's keeping in mind that, and to remind the members to check their contribution statement. I believe you can see that through members only, and it's always good to check that, if nothing else, towards the end of June before that fiscal year rolls over in July. The nice thing about the changes that were made to the different tiers under both public safety and corp is that survivor benefits stayed the same. But in order for that survivor to get paid timely, we're asking for a copy of the recorded marriage certificate. So as long as that comes with the retirement paperwork, we've got that document on file, and if something happens and we need to process that survivor benefit, we know that we're good to go. We will not pay the benefit until we receive that document. It has been, because that's what we use in order to make sure that that requirement is met for that 2 consecutive years after the member retires. We catch up those survivors with retro payments, but we still can't pay until that document is received. Tier 2 for public safety, that's membership from January 1 of 2012 through June 30th of 2017. Normal retirement is 25 years of service. However, when that Tier 3 came into play, they did amend the requirements for retirement in this tier, which is nice. So to have normal retirement, it's 15 years of credited service and age 52 and a half. Now, to calculate this, it's a graded multiplier because the member can go with anywhere from 15 up to that 25 years, and it will calculate beginning from 15 years of credited service to about 17, it's a 1.5 multiplier. And that multiplier increases from that point depending upon how much credited service the member has. The calculation is based upon the highest 5 consecutive years for this tier and for tier 3. And again, survivor benefits are available. They're automatic as long as that retiree has been married for 2 consecutive years or more. Tier 3, public safety, membership on or after July 1st of 2017. Normal retirement is 15 years of credited service and age 55. So between Tier 2 and Tier 3, what changed is making sure that you meet both the years of credited service and the age. So you can meet the credited service first, and then you would leave everything on record if you decided that you wanted to leave the employment, and then come back when you're age 52 in order to apply for those benefits. And the one unique thing about Tier 3 that they put in, and it's specifically listed as this, which is nice, is they consider it early retirement at 15 years of credited service and age 52 years of age. So that would be an actuarial valuation that would be calculated. And that's the only type of retirement that's considered early. So I get a lot of questions about members, well, isn't there early retirement in Tier 1? And there isn't when you talk about normal retirement. They have a deferred annuity that's completely different, and the requirements are different on that. And so if you have questions about that deferred annuity, you can also email me about those questions. Corp Tier 1, membership before January 1st of 2012. So normal retirement for Corp Tier 1 is 20 years of service. For dispatchers, they did change that up for them, and that's 25 years of credited service, or 10 years of service and age 62, or 80 points. So those also, that normal retirement, because I remember when we've had dispatchers who have retired under that Tier 1 Corp, and they do have the option of the 10 years and age 62 or the 80 points. Again, the survivor is automatic as long as there's 2 consecutive years of marriage on record, and again, we do require a recorded copy of the marriage certificate. Corp also has the reverse drop. So under Tier 1, the minimum to reverse drop back is 24 years of credited service, or dispatchers, it's 25 years of credited service. So what that means is if this individual would like to participate in the reverse drop, they have to work it. They have to have that credited service on record with contributions in order to reverse drop back the number of months, but not below. For Corp, it's 24 years of credited service and not below 25 years of credited service for a dispatcher. So, and the calculation of that benefit does not include those years that were worked beyond that 24 years. We're going to count back those months the member wants to reverse drop back, and then we're going to start that highest 3 consecutive years. Corp benefits Tier 2. Membership is January 1, 2012 through June 30th of 2018. That's different from public safety. Normal retirement is 25 years of service and age 52 and a half, or 10 years of service and age 62. So they did retain that option in that Tier 2 for those Corp individuals. Again, you can meet the service and then come back later and get once you reach the age, make application for that retirement. However, you have to leave contributions on record. They have to remain on record with us in order to be able to do that. Because again, once a member refunds any of those contributions, then they forfeit all benefits. Survivor, again, is automatic. And the reverse drop, the member has to have at least 25 years of credited service or more. So basically, the way we kind of explain it is that if a member wants to reverse drop 1 month, they have to work beyond that 25 years of credited service for at least 2 months to reverse drop back 1. Tier 3 for Corp is the defined contribution plan. So these contributions are submitted to Nationwide. We do have a way of tracking what is submitted on the member's record on our side, so we can review that information. The employer contributions vest at a rate of 10% per year and are fully vested with 10 years of service. So the member can work with Nationwide and figure out what type of investment options they can use to utilize those funds once they're over there with Nationwide. Now, the unique thing about the Tier 3 defined contribution plan for both corp and public safety is that disabilities are available, but only the work-related disabilities. And there is line of duty death survivor benefit also for the DC plan, both public safety and corp. Now, the monthly benefit is going to utilize those funds that are over at Nationwide to offset the calculation that we would be doing here in our office for that disability or that KIA survivor. Drop extension, okay. So Tier 1 only, so membership before January 1 of 2012. Again, drop is voluntary and irrevocable. And at the date of participation that the member chooses to enter drop, they have to know, am I going to do the 5-year drop or am I going to want to do the 7-year drop? Because 5 years of drop, you have to have those 20 years of credited service or more. It can be any combination of credited service. But if you want to do the 7 years of drop, you have to be age 51 and have at least 24 and a half years of credited service when you make application for the drop. Now, the drop extension, the other part of it is those members who were already participating in the drop program. So those members who entered July of 2017, so they were effective in our office August 1st of 2017. So they would have had to provide us with the information that they were extending or retire by July of 2022. I'm trying to keep these dates and years straight in my head. So, and that will be for those members who entered drop prior to July of 2022. Those members are going to be exiting drop in July of 2027. So that group of individuals within that range, that's where the employer needs to identify and provide us with information regarding, are these members going to extend their drop or are they not? And the difference is us providing them retirement paperwork or flagging their record with wanting to extend. So basically, what process is in place on the employer side, because the employer has to approve or deny these extensions, what process is in place so that you can help these members with their decision and provide us with that approve or deny. And what they've done, and which is nice, so the employer approves or denies. What our retired members group did with our IT department is they partnered up and they created in the employer portal a space for the employer to go in and flag these individual members' records. So these members that are listed are those ones who are affected by this decision. And the way that the page looks is that it will flag members within 60 days of drop and then within 30 days of drop. Because we need to know, because again, the difference of mailing out retirement paperwork if they're not staying or flagging their record with the date that notes that they are extending, because we have other pension stuff that we need to do as far as making sure that 60 months drop cumulative balance is payable to Nationwide, and whether or not that's it, the member is going to start receiving their pension, or if we're sending that drop cumulative balance to Nationwide, and then from that point sending that monthly pension to Nationwide on behalf of that member. And this is what the screen kind of basically looks like with the information that will note the member information. For the 60 days, it'll be highlighted in that yellow. And for the 30 days, it'll be highlighted in that orange tone. So that way, as the member is approaching their exit drop date, if they have not already provided us with the approval or denial, then you'll know who's still pending. And what you'll need to do is go into this screen, and off to the right there, it's approved or denied, and it has both of those words there that you can click on, and then provide the date that it has been approved. So again, like I was saying, we need to move that money from nationwide to nationwide as of the 61st month, and then from that point, either pay the member their pension, or if it's the extension has been approved, then we'll start paying that monthly pension to nationwide. Now, this is after that 60th month has been completed. Nothing happens until that point. Now, the member will need to reach out to Nationwide about doing any sort of move, anything with the money. But the member cannot access it until after they terminate employment. So they can move the money around within Nationwide, but they can't pull out any of the funds until after they terminate employment. So it's either any time, because again, drop is voluntary. So if they decide to stay those 84 months, they can actually retire at any point during those 84 months also. Okay, return to work. This one is always fun. So the employer hires a public safety retiree. Is it the same employer that's hiring that retiree, that retiree retired from? Then what the board needs to do, because the board needs to know about this, is did the employer hire that retiree? So that communication needs to occur between the employer and the local board if they are two separate entities. Sometimes that HR department is involved in the local board. But did the member wait 60 months from date of retirement? What's the date of hire? Is it a public safety eligible position? Are alternate contributions payable? If the member did not wait the 6 months, and there's exceptions, I'll go into that in a bit. If the member did not wait the 6 months, then the pension should be suspended because the member's return to work and has not met the return to work requirements in order to do that. They return to work before that 6 months has occurred. And it's 6 months from date of retirement. So the member can retire April 15th. They'd be effective in office May 1st. May 1st starts that countdown for the 6 months, and I'll explain in a bit the 60 days. The exceptions. Same employer, the employer will need to advise the local board because the local board needs to review these return to work members' information. Now the member can wait 60 days from date of retirement. Again, it's the first of the month following. If we have had instances where the employer started the countdown for 60 days prior to that first of the month, and then the member did have to pay back 1 month of the pension because it was paid, and we didn't know about it, and so that individual did have to pay it back. So I don't go into too much of the what happens if the member is in conflict with the statute because I don't want to go there either. I know nobody else does. So as long as you meet the requirements, you're good to go. It's just making sure that that local board reviews the information so that way we know about it also, and so does our insurance group. Now the other exception is hired as a fire inspector or arson investigator, or the third paragraph talks about Americans with Disabilities Accommodation. What we need in our office to review for the 60 months or the 60 days is the local board minutes, the date of hire, if it's a public safety position or not, if ACR is payable or not, and then the position title, copies of the old job description and the new job description for same employer. Now, when it comes to what I'm asking about, when we say public safety eligible position, did this retiree come back to work for the same employer in a public safety position? Because then that alternate contribution is going to be payable to public safety on behalf of that member, that retired member, by the employer. So again, if, on this side of it, if it's a different employer, so a public safety retiree goes back to work for an employer that they didn't retire from, just any other public safety employer, the local board still does need to review that information. And we're not asking for as much because it's a different employer, but we still need to know that the board has reviewed the return to work statute, that they've noted a hire date for this retiree who's returning to work. Again, if it's a public safety position or not, and if ACR is payable. Because again, even if you're in a different employer and a retiree gets hired into a public safety position that normally, if you did a new hire, we would receive employee and employer contributions for that position, then that alternate contribution is payable to the plan, because that retired member can never contribute to public safety again or gain any credited service. That's done. That's complete for that retiree. So we need to know who these people are. Now it involves our insurance group too for any subsidy that might be payable. Again, what we need to see, if it's a different employer, is the local board minutes, date of hire, if it's a public safety eligible position or not, and if ACR is payable or not. Corp return to work is a little different because what they've actually say what is a designated position. But they still have that 6 months. So again, the local board does have to review this. What is happening is if the member gets hired into a corp designated position before 6 months, then the pension should be suspended. So that's what we need to know. We need to be aware of what's happening so that way we timely do suspend those pensions so the member does not have that benefit to pay back to the plan. After 6 months of retirement, again, from the first of the month following the date of retirement, we need to know the date of hire, designated position or not, and if ACR is payable or not. Now, the alternate contributions, again, like I said, they're payable to the plan. It's the employer pays those rates on behalf of that individual who was hired into a public safety eligible position or a corp designated position. The rates vary, and that alternate contribution rate will appear on the actuarial evaluation that you can review on our website if you haven't done that yet. Demographics need to be updated in our portal. With a member who has been hired to return to work, there is an option for that, so that way when contributions are uploaded, we know that we're getting employer contributions submitted on behalf of that individual. And the 401A defined contribution, just a little bit, I know it's probably covered in other presentations today. This involves the DC, Tier 3 DC, and Tier 2 and Tier 3 hybrid. And of course, again, the employer contributions vest at a rate of 10% per year, fully vested after 10 years. I always put in that hybrid part because I can never remember. It's if the member does not contribute to Social Security, then that hybrid is available for them. And again, under the DC plans for both public safety and corp, there is the work-related disability and line of duty death that is available if needed. Any questions? Yes?
The existing members that have entered the drop already and have the choice to make about extending, is there still the years of service and age requirement on those people?
No, there's not. If they started participating in drop prior to July of 22, then no, they don't have to, because they're already in drop, so they're never gonna be able to reach those 24 years of credited service, because their service stops as soon as they enter drop.
Joann, can you repeat that question?
Oh, sorry. Those members who are currently in the drop who need to have that extension approved or denied, do they need to meet those 24 and a half years of credited service or the age? And they do not, because again, their credited service stopped at the point that they entered drop. So that's why they need the approval, basically, is we need to know that it's okay for that individual to stay for those extra 2 years. Yes.
Back to the rehire subject. This is PSPRS members. If someone retires from the PSPRS system and gets rehired by another employer within that 6 months, is there any, if it's a different employer, is there any issues, or is it only same employer?
Only same employer.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay.